Hi, I'm Ishan Aziz. I'm doing my opening sequence one of my opening sequence analysis for my AS Media blog, and the opening sequence I'm going to be analyzing is from season 2 of the NBC sitcom Community. So yeah, I'm just gonna play it. Okay, so we start off with the first shot, which is of sort of the really goofy mascot and sports team of this fictitious community college, Greendale, which sort of establishes how weird and kooky this school is, as well as the show itself. Then you get the circled first day of class date on Abed's calendar, which shows just how much he loves his school, how much he loves his just the experience of going to school. Uh, so then he pops up, and you get sort of the sense of how alert and kind of weird he is in that he's so alert immediately as his alarm goes off, and he announces, "And we're back," which is sort of a feature of his character that he talks about stuff as if it's a TV show. So he announces it as if it is the beginning of the second season of a TV show, which it is, but he's a character inside. So it's sort of him breaking the fourth wall. So we sort of get an establishment of Abed's character in a way in this shot. We get his room, which is full of DVDs, which like something you learn about the character in the earlier season and throughout the show is his love of television movies. You got all his DVDs, his posters and stuff. So yeah, you get so then this horizontal tracking shot, I guess you'd say, begins, and the next person we see is Troy, and it's kind of important that this goes right after Arbed because their friendship, their like best friendship, is one of the main features, like one of the most important sort of relationships in the show. They're sort of very connected. It's where a lot of the comedy comes from. So we get the establishment of the re-establishment, I guess, of Troy's character as sort of this man-child character. He's wearing Spider-Man PJs. We also have his football shirt and his trophies. Uh, he's doing his like sort of goofy face a bit, so it's establishes a comedic tone to do with the character, and it's kind of like a goofball character as well. Uh, Moving on, the tracking shot continues, and just give a second. I think we see Pierce next, and this, again, all the rooms establish character in a clever way, in an overt way as well. It's something that Community is very good at. It's very good at showing stuff through surroundings, and the tone is always emphasized by colorful and exciting surroundings. So Pierce's room, who's played by Chevy Chase, we get a picture of him when he was younger above his bed, showing how he has this delusion of his own sort of identity. He thinks of himself as a very young person. It's a feature throughout the show. Who he thinks of himself. I think he pictures himself as he was in earlier years, which you can also see in sort of the 70s look of his room as well. So he's yearning, and he has this delusion that everything's still, even though he's old, he's still the same as he was when he was younger, which is sort of a feature of the character. So the pan continues. So then we have Yvette Nicole Brown's character, who Shirley, who, and on her bed she has her children, which is a big feature of her character, that she's a mother. She's very caring and matronly. Got the cross above her bed, as a lot of the comedy from her characters, from her intense sort of Christian nature. Uh, so one thing about all these characters, they're all very sort of, that comes back to in the end of this shot, is that they're all very alert and ready to get going in a way. Sort of, yeah. So moving on, I think, yeah, the I guess you would say the lead, although the point of the shot is it's showing that there isn't really a lead, that it's more an ensemble. The next character, which is Jeff, played by Joel McHale. Um, this shot, this portion of the shot establishes sort of his, vain nature in a way. He's very obsessed with his own body image. Like while everyone else is just waking up, he's already up and doing some elaborate workout. And So proceeding on, I think you also notice about Jeff Room is very sleek and very stylish, similar to the character, with the way he sort of pictures himself and the way he's sort of presented to the audience. So Annie is the next character. Again, all the thing about all the characters, they're all looking very excited to go to school, and this is partly related to story reasons. With Annie's character, you get a sort of very brightly lit, sort of girlish room with the outside that is sort of duller colors, because that's the part of the character. She lives in a very decrepit neighborhood. There's a great attention to detail in all these shots. So yeah, it's presenting Annie as a very young character. Then you have, and this is sort of the big story establishing moment, I guess you'd say, for the sequences. You have Britta's room, which is very decrepit and stuff, which is part of her character. She's anarchic in a way. So at the end of last season, basically what Britta did is she embarrassed herself a lot in front of the entire school. And what I like about this, the fact that it's carrying over to this season, is it's showing consequence to what happened in the last season. Yes. So then, now we have the camera sort of breaking the horizontal pan to a sort of zoom in onto Britta, and to show how, while all the juxtaposing how excited all the other characters are to be going to school and seeing their friends or whatever again, she is very nervous and whatnot. Because as I aforementioned, she embarrassed herself a lot at the end of last season. So then we break away from the horizontal panning shot, and we see Britta again. She's very nervous. I think this shot is also important, how it's almost staring down at Britta very intensely. She's center frame. And I don't have audio included over this, but basically there's this sort of joke thing where the dean is making an announcement about a fresh start ball, a fresh start dance that is happening, and then he makes a joke about how she embarrassed herself, so it's sort of saying, oh, she can make a fresh start, and she reacts to those words being more like enforced, and then he makes it impossible for her to have a fresh start by announcing to the entire school about how she embarrassed herself in the previous season finale. So the thing about the shot I like is so it makes her center frame, and it gives this real intense impression that of the way that she is feeling right now. She's feeling like everyone's staring at her, everyone's looking at her and laughing at her. So the camera is staring down at her and sort of almost accusedly looking at her, and we get a perspective shot of a group, like a group of girls looking at her. So sort of shows how nervous she is, because she is like focusing in on these people who are talking about her. So yeah, then she kind of freaks out a bit. Again, maintaining the shot where she's center frame and sort of being stared down at in a way, while everyone else is sort of out of focus and moving about around the frame, which is another thing that showed as well. The background, there's always motion and stuff. It gives an exciting feel. So then the shot, without breaking, you probably can't tell because I have this in slow motion, so I can talk over it. That without breaking the shot, then focuses on another two characters, Pierce and Troy. Sort of reestablishes their relationship because they've been living together over the summer, and they have been established as sort of similar characters, even if they're not big friends in the group. Well, they are, but they're sort of similar because they're they're sort of the dunces of the group. A lot of their comedy comes from them saying idiotic things. So then we get a storyline for the episode is being set up, and conflict between Pierce and Troy is being set up because Pierce is saying some insensitive and politically incorrect comment about I can't remember what he says. He refers to the pair of them as Batman and Shaft, rather than Batman and Robin. So sort of showing that he's focusing on race, which is part of Pierce's character. He's sort of very politically incorrect, if not like overtly racist. Which so he's more mainly shown not really maliciously discriminate, but sort of comedically so. So Troy then is tweeting about this, setting up the storyline for the episode where Troy is tweeting out all the politically incorrect and sort of offensive things that Pierce said, and also sort of idiotic things that Pierce says. So yeah. The shot never breaks throughout this, which is another thing I like. I'll come back to that at the end, I think. Okay. Again, like I mentioned, the motion in the background. It's something that the show does well. It's always, there's a feeling of excitement. Color scheme is always well done. Costume design well done as well. There's always clashing colors, and it sort of gives everything an energy to it. So then we get the movement of the camera, which sort of gives a dynamic feel to the shot, and then it focuses in the next shot. Well, not the next shot, it's the continuation of the same shot. We see the camera turn and focus on Annie and Abed moving into the shot. Again, I'll talk about this at the end, but the movements of the shot, how it turns to focus on different characters, gives a very cohesive feel and connects all these characters very well. It sort of has this almost star-crossed sort of feeling about their relationship, that they're all interconnected. Especially considering that Annie is directly reacting to Troy's tweet that he just made. So yeah, they use this to set up the conflict in between Pierce and Troy, where Abed and Annie discuss how Troy is tweeting all this incriminating almost stuff about Pierce. Okay, yeah, so I just found this opening sequence very interesting because throughout the way the directors use shots, just like the way they maintain a view of the characters and the way they move between them is really interesting for establishing an ensemble. And there is focus on different characters, but it's always clear that none are supposed to sort of be the main character. I think a lot of sitcoms do. Almost most of them have mainly ensembles. However, this one is just, there was clearly a focus on trying to illustrate that rather than just tell the audience that that was the situation. So, like in the first shot, it works really well comedically and establishing sort of the genre and the tone of the show. There's the horizontal tracking shot, I guess you'd just call it, because it's moving between all the characters, showing each one and showing their character for the same amount of time, not focusing on one. Okay, well, it's focusing on Britta at the end, but it's focusing on her because she has the most pertinent storyline for the episode, rather than her being the main character. So we get all these characters instantly re-established to the audience, whether they've watched the previous seasons or not. They get an idea of who they are from the surrounding, the set design and the costume design and just the way the characters act. So it's just showing every different, the directors and the actors and the designers are using every different element that they can to show character, and that's what the show pivots around. That's why it works so well. It's because it has character, because it shows character so well, and the characters are all dynamic, and the way their costumes look, and the way they look, and the way their surroundings look, and the way they're shot, it separates them all so much that they can each be dynamic in their own different way. So it also, then we get this other shot, like the one where Brit is being sort of almost accusingly placed in center frame with this moving close up while everyone else is moving around. It gives emotion, it gives sort of pressure on Umbrita with all these sort of out of focus characters while she's clearly just center frame being stared at. So it sort of puts us in, like, shows the emotion she's feeling by focusing on the performance and like just giving this accusing look that the audience is staring straight at Britta, and that's the way she thinks everyone is being at the moment. She also has a perspective shot that works well, putting us in her shoes. And then there's that sort of long shot where it's moving. It follows a character for a bit, and then it turns to focus on another set of characters, and it turns to focus on them head on. And it really works. It gives that feeling of direction. Not everyone's moving the same way. They're crossing paths, like Troy and Pierce are moving towards the camera, and the camera turns to face Annie and Abed face on as well. So it gives a sort of star-crossed feeling, and which is part of the characters anyway. They're sort of very different, which is sort of emphasized by the way they're moving different ways, but they're all very connected very well, and that's what's become so likable about all the characters as the show progresses, and at this point in the show even. So I felt that was very effective, and also the way it sets up storylines. It's just they use dialogue well. It's subtle enough, and it didn't take very long to set up this pretty funny storyline. Set up conflict between, like, future conflict between Troy and Pierce, which gets paid off at the end of the episode. And it's done very quickly and efficiently, and through dialogue and through, again, something that the show does well, consequence. We get Troy tweeting and Annie reacts to it without them being directly connected. And yeah, so the other place you see consequences from storylines carrying over in the first season, showing consequence of action. It's not separating the first season and this season. It's showing that character relationships are continuing, and that's sort of a staple of these first couple episodes. You get new character, like the finale of the first season, threw a lot of stuff up into the air as far as storylines go. So you have Britta being embarrassed about her actions, and there's this Jeff Annie storyline as well, and basically the showing of consequences is really good for just an audience to get reacquainted with the story, because it doesn't feel disconnected. It feels like there's something going on here. It's not, and that's it's kind of all part of what makes a good sort of sitcom, a great sitcom, is showing an overarching story and showing not just jokes but consequence that leads to drama or comedy or comedic drama, which is most pertinent. So yeah, I just thought overall, I just feel that this opening sequence is just, it's really, it's very funny and it's very dynamically shot. It just has such a great energy to be like, oh, we're back. It has so much movement, it has so much energy. Just in general, just the colors and juxtaposition and the character, everything just works well, and it's very dynamic. So I just thought it's a great opening sequence, especially for reintroducing an audience or introducing a new audience, because so much is established about the characters without really any dialogue in that horizontal panning shot. So yeah, thank you. This has been my opening sequence analysis of the opening sequence to the first episode of the second season of NBC's Community.